Kong. I am Andy Curtin. I'm here with Vivek Mahbubani.
Wow.
Never getting it wrong now.
You're in a good mood today?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was
The opposite. I say it the wrong way when I'm in a good mood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Where do people find you online?
At Funny Vivek, sometimes with letter M, sometimes without. Just try. They're both me.
Yeah, there's no other Viveks out there. That's it.
No
You're
other
getting
funny
one.
Viveks. There are many Viveks, but not the funny one.
Right. But you've watched that. They must all hate you because they Google themselves and it's just you.
Yeah, it's really annoying. I would know that because I Google myself.
Yeah, I
Every day
I had a battle for a few years when I started doing comedy with some schmuck selling.
I thought maybe some furniture company is like, hey, that's our curtain.
Oh, there was a bit of that. Yeah, I've watched them all. I got the first 2 pages.
I want to wonder,
now.
like, when you Google image search your name, do we get curtains more or do we get you more?
If you put Andy in there, you'll get me.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's an.
We'll reveal the answer to our Patreon subscribers.
On that note, if you are enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe. And we have a Patreon account at patreon.com/hohopod that is pretty amazing at the moment if you want to check it out. We release bonus episodes every Thursday and lots of other stuff. Now, our guest today, also a podcaster from the In the Changing Room podcast, which is all about women in sport, interviewing a wide variety of women involved in sport, from Olympic athletes to business owners to mums. Cissy Radford, thanks for coming in today.
Hey guys, thanks so much. I always have a strange name. Cissy is a weird one.
Pretty normal compared to most of the people we have on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got some interesting people at comedy shows. We've got comedians who are like, my full name, don't say my full name, just call me Chu. It's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's up with that?
It's like, his name is Andrew Chu, but he was like, call me Chu. I'm like...
or Ha Chu.
Yeah, Ha Chu. I'm like,
is that a sneeze or do I sound racist if I ask that question?
Exactly. Because so this is the thing. So I'll tell you, Andrew, when he first told me to call me Ha Chu, I was like, are you ripping my funny Vivek? Like a Ha and a Chu? Or are you trying to play up the sound? But anyway, back to you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's
Very happy to be here.
And so let's step into the Hong Kong history a little bit before we dive into it. How long have you been here?
This is my 4th year. So January 2018, I moved here.
So like 2 normal years, 2 weird years.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Very
1 year of being like, will I go, will I stay for every
Oh,
day?
that's every single person.
Exactly,
even the local people when they're born.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right now everyone's like, oh, wait a second.
I think I do it every year. Every year I'm like, I think this is it. You know, I'll head home after this year.
Oh, yeah, but that...
I envisage myself like 10 years' time, like, well...
You know, the funny thing is the people that don't do that, they're the ones that leave.
Yeah. Usually the people who stayed in Hong Kong for like 20 years, they're like, I thought I'll be here for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to me. I love the place.
What do you do here? I've been deliberating about leaving for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I first arrived, everybody I met was like, oh, you know, I thought I was going to do a year. This is my 7th. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Like,
7 when you first arrived seems overwhelming.
Ridiculous.
And now it's like
Ridiculous.
nothing.
Yeah, I know. How funny. I was like,
Yeah.
do you not miss home? Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I think it's more Hong because I was in Shanghai for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a little bit of that, but not as extreme as here. Here, it's like people really... Because I think also Hong Kong's like, in a way... It's not the boldest move into Asia.
Right,
You're not like
exactly.
moving to a rural
Yeah.
village or something like that. You know.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And there's plenty of people that come here really just for something else. They're like, I get this will be a good job for a little while or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And then, but it's a pretty great city.
Isn't it? And
I do
think
love it.
there's plenty of people at home, for me anyway, that don't realize it's like that mix of East and West. So they're like, what do you do? How do you get by?
Yeah.
What language do you speak out there? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man.
Yeah, there's so much you have to understand. Stop watching the movies. Kong versus Godzilla was fake. Let it go.
Was it?
Oh, well, the characters on the billboards were, but anyway.
And the other funny thing is there's so much negative stuff in the news right now.
Right,
And
yeah.
people like, how are you there? I'm like, you know it's still great on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I found it really hard last year, like January, February, March, when COVID was a real thing here, but like not at home.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh my gosh, like what are you living through? Like this must be awful. I was like, it's actually like, it's kind of fine.
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
just gotta go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's kind of
and
okay.
then 3 weeks later, how's your burning down city?
Oh dear, but no, it's great. I love it here. Love it.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. When you first got to Hong Kong, did you feel like I want to integrate into society, I want to learn the language, I want to try everything that's local, or were you the type that take it easy, slow down, maybe if I encounter something local, I'll try it out?
Honestly, probably more the second one. When I first came, so I was working for a language center, and
In where?
here.
When you first arrived?
I mean, Hong Kong.
And where did you come from?
Oh, from the UK.
Yeah, which city?
Nottingham.
Okay. Yeah.
I was living in London before I came here, but from Nottingham originally.
Yeah, and why did you move out here?
So I
Just wanted to see all of the places England owned at some point.
Yeah.
still doing it. No, I had in my head for so long that I wanted to go and teach English abroad. So I just teach TEFL English, right? Like,
And
I'm
you
not,
teach French as well, right?
I do, yeah. So that's my degree. So I had in my head for so long, I'm going to go and teach English somewhere. I think in my head I thought I was going to be like in a little shack village school.
With the
like some
blackboard.
little poor town. Like,
Let me draw Microsoft
coming
Word
in
on the
to teach-
blackboard for you. Yeah.
I've arrived
Exactly.
with knowledge and the fruits of the future.
No, exactly. So I did my TEFL in Thailand and was fully intending to stay in Thailand, be there. And then as I was doing my TEFL, I got this message from a girl I went to school with, like in the town I'm from in Nottingham, to say, hey, saw you doing your TEFL. I manage a language center in Hong Kong. Do you fancy coming? And she sent me some details of the job. I had a quick Google of Hong Kong. I did a conversion of the salary in Hong Kong dollars to pounds and was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
And so when I arrived, the company I worked for, they put you in a flat with other teachers from the company. So it was super easy at the start, but it meant that both of those girls were also from the UK. So I'd say for my first year, it was like I was in England, really, to be honest.
So go to work, stay in the flat, back to the UK.
Yeah, like it was so easy. You know, I didn't have to look for a flat myself. I didn't have to sort any of that out. But it definitely...
God, this is like the polar opposite to my experience.
Really? Really? It took me a year, I'd say, before. Joining the football team is when I sort of first met, like, local girls. And, you know, there was a couple of local admins at the centre I worked at, but really...
Yeah.
No, I was not.
But usually, like, the admins just go straight to the point. Like, oh, this is your class, this is what you do, and that's it, right?
Yeah. Well, they're so to the point in everything, to the point where they're like, why do you wear your hair like that? Why are you wearing trousers?
Oh, yeah, full on,
You
yeah.
look like a boy.
It's not the politeness issue, it's the lack of vocabulary. I want to be like, hey, just really curious to want to ask you a question, but like, I don't know any of those words, so why
That's
hair?
a really good point.
That's
you know,
a good point,
John
yeah.
Buckman, who we had, you know, the coffee guy, was saying that it's sometimes so much easier to communicate with the people that they engage here because with a limitation on the language, they have no choice but to be as clear as possible.
Oh, yeah. I checked out the episode. It's very interesting. It's very true because, like, that's also very Cantonese as well. Cantonese is such a straightforward, to-the-point language.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. I just translate what I'm thinking, and the point is, why is your hair like that? It's
Yeah.
like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see the rudeness in
The brain,
Cantonese.
you're like, you know, it's, why are you fat?
exactly. Straight up. It's like, I mean, there's no, hey, I just wanted to be asking you a few questions out of curiosity. It's like, why fat? Why? Why not thin? It's like, okay, let's leave it at that.
Why not thin?
Why not thin? I'm thin.
Am I?
Why did you choose fat?
Why aren't you answering me? I checked the dictionary.
It literally is word for word. I have a voice-sounding dictionary. That's what it says.
Why are you crying? Did I say it wrong? Did I pronounce fat wrong?
Yeah,
It's fat,
exactly.
right? You're fat.
Yeah, why are you fat? Is the focus more on you better?
Why are you fat?
Yeah. Raise the tone so it's a question, not an exclamation. So the first year, and then eventually with the football and everything, you got to meet more locals, and you tried that.
Yeah,
Did you like immediately? I'm sure they were like, "Oh, you got to try this. You got to say that, learn this word, and stuff like that."
Yeah, pretty much. And the local girls on our team find it very, very funny to teach you how to say.
And you say it wrong, and they're like, "Ah!"
So funny. But yeah, I'd say it took a little while. But
Yeah.
got there eventually.
It's weird because like in Cantonese, when we see like non-Chinese speakers speak Cantonese and mess it up, it's
Right.
funny. But in English,
Yeah.
it's like, no, just bad pronunciation. That's about it. We're not gonna
Yeah.
laugh at you, like,
Yeah.
right?
When I used to do stand up in Mandarin, if I said the wrong word, I'd often get a big laugh from the crowd, and the
Yeah.
Chinese comics are like, "Fuck that! We have to write jokes."
Yeah. You just have to say the punchline badly.
They're like, I'm getting a pause break because I couldn't pronounce fat properly, and
The power and benefits, man, of not being local.
yeah, I was always just like, yeah, do it in English. Go try. See how it goes.
Yeah. They're like, that's not funny at all. Maybe say it incorrectly.
No, I mean for them to do it.
Oh,
I'm
and then they
getting
get the
a
benefit.
reward
I get what you
here
mean.
for trying.
Hard
right?
true to that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. Oh God.
All right. So because I'm always very curious to see like when people kind of get more integrated in local lifestyle and everything. What would like the languages? Like I'm always curious. Some people want to learn the swear words first.
Yeah.
Some people learn the same simple like yao lock getting off the minibus
Uh-huh.
as the original. Do you remember that first phrase? You were like, oh, this is a phrase I need. Don't tell me it's like mgoy.
I think it might have
Oh
been,
my God, that's
honestly.
Why?
such a
What's wrong
typical
with that?
British.
But-
Because that's such a typical like British thing. I'm going to learn how to say thank you or excuse me.
But you know what another typical British thing is? That I'm so scared to even say it now because I'm like, I think I'll just go with thank you because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to say it wrong or do something
Yeah.
stupid, which is so silly.
Yeah.
But I would say that teaching kids, I quickly learnt what like idiot is or like rude things
Oh, yeah,
are because
yeah,
they would
yeah.
chat to themselves about me or something.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, or playing football as well because on our team we're sort of Western and local.
Yeah.
So the referee gets it in both languages. We have English abuse and Cantonese abuse. So I'd say I've picked up more rude things than anything. But yeah,
Okay.
thank you for sure.
So
I
you picked up Cantonese basically.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, what do you mean rude things? Like,
That's
how-
what I keep hearing is
that's what I
Cantonese
love.
is such a great language to swear
I
in.
love it. Oh, Cantonese swearing is the best.
Yeah.
Like everything just hits you. You know, just like I even have a whole joke about the word tiu, you know, the Cantonese swear word for fuck.
Because it sounds like the number 7, doesn't it?
No, chut
is
means
Oh.
idiot, like toe chut. So stupid, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tiu, like the thing with tiu is okay. So the joke is like this. Basically, if you want to learn tiu, when you let's say bump into someone, you just kind of go like tiu, and it's pissed off, right? Just like fuck.
You say that to them?
Oh, well, you say to you under your breath, depending on their body size, if they're kind
That's
of
what
fat.
people
You're
have been
like,
saying when I walk
yeah,
around.
exactly. When you're on stage, you're like, dude, you're like, oh, that's a weird boo. So this is the key. If you're friendly with someone,
Right.
and let's say they're late for a meeting or whatever, you don't just say "deal." You go "deal." You drag it out. So it's like a slow fuck. Right? This is what I teach people. Like the friendliness factor comes in the duration of your deal. So if I know you and we're friends and you're pissed off at me, just go like "deal." Take your time. But if I don't know you or a stranger, like "deal." So when people like, I would say like, if you want to deal me, deal slowly. Take your time, man. We're good friends. Don't just do. Deal.
I remember my first 3 years in Shanghai, people were always like, Chinese people swear. And I was like, they don't. They never swear. And then I learnt the swear words. I was like, oh, that's what they've been saying.
So okay, so it's the same for everyone then, I guess.
Right,
The swear words
yeah.
automatically come by living in the in
Yeah,
the city.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's very healthy. That's good to know for self-defense as well.
Yeah,
So when people say
yeah.
stuff, you don't go like, "Mgoy,
Yeah.
yao and you're like, okay, never mind. She doesn't
But
get
what
it.
do you think would be a word beyond hello or thank you that you would learn first?
In a different city.
In any other language?
I don't know.
What is
Where's
the
my-
most? What's the first
I guess
word that you would learn?
the most typical Hong Kong thing would be like, "Where's my salary?" Like, I haven't.
Oh yeah, I
received
can
it.
see you using that all the time.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you're interacting. If you're a really good businessman, then pretty much everybody. Right?
Yeah.
That's your goal. It's like, where's my money?
I learnt my address in Chinese pretty quickly.
Nice.
But
Oh,
my
yeah.
address sounds a lot like Happy New Year, Chinese New Year.
Really?
So sometimes I get in a taxi and say, Kong Hei Fat Choi, and they
Yeah.
look around like, what are you calling? And then other times I'd try and say Happy New Year to my admin and I'd read my address. And it
Yeah.
was very confusing, the two of them. But
That works.
definitely address, I nailed that.
Yeah,
Needed that one.
that's pretty. Actually,
Yeah,
that might
that's
have been the
important.
first one that you
Yeah,
said.
there you, okay.
Yeah.
I think you win with that one. The address would be
Address.
more important than even salary.
Yeah.
So, has sport always been a massive thing for you?
Sport, no. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about getting people to do it, because I was not really a sporty child. I think I was...
So you're like a born again Christian.
My uni initiations were like my baptism.
Dunked into
it,
the
yeah.
Gatorade or something.
But I was, no, I wasn't very sporty growing up or as a teenager. I sort of was like very young, but then stopped, didn't really think there was much going on for a girl to play.
Was it
Do you
'cause,
think a gender played a role in that?
Yeah, I'd say. Like, I played, we had like a primary school football team, and I loved it. And then I went to secondary school and there wasn't. And I'm sure that, you know, if I'd had expressed to my parents, I'd really like to play, they would have found me a team. But in my sort of 10-year-old world, there wasn't
Yeah.
a team and there wasn't really a place. And we had like quite horrific, it's a bit exaggerated, but some like sports day incidents, right, where they would have to have one girl on a team of something, and I would usually be the girl, and it would be super embarrassing if we'd lose, and I was like, I hate sport, never again. And then I did a lot of dance growing up, and I did a lot of like drama and musical theatre and stuff. I was quite performy. And then when I went to uni, my dad was like, join a team, that'll be great. And I was like, okay. So I walked around the sports like fair, I guess, in the first week of uni, and saw the football team and was like, well, we could.
Oh, okay.
Give it a go. They seem fun.
What attracted about it? Like, well, this is a nice looking ball. It's like, black and white, and it's got a little pattern on it.
No, come on, it's the outfits.
True.
Same for anyone.
Yeah.
You just want the shorts and the shirt and the shoes and the socks.
Don't
The
forget the shin
socks.
pads.
Long sock, yeah. Covers the whole shin. I'll take it.
I think I just remember walking around and I signed up for like netball and cheerleading and everything else I thought that I maybe should play. And then football was like at the end. And honestly, the group of girls that were on the committee at the time, the table, I think they were drinking, like they were just messing around. Like they weren't really trying to get people. They were just kicking a ball around.
I mean, like,
stupid,
compared to
and I was
netball.
Like, I like you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's true. You don't need half your brain. You're only using your feet. Netball and stuff, you got to use your hands and your feet, right? You got to like run around and throw
there's
it.
so many rules like where you can go, like each position has to stay within certain lines. There's a lot of thinking in netball.
Yeah, because my sister used to play netball, and I was like, I don't want to be anywhere close to that game if you're playing it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to know anything about it.
Netball is like in England what girls do in PE at school. So they're usually split, the girls and the boys.
I did it in primary school.
Oh, really?
They made us do it. Yeah. I mean, they made us do it. It was fun.
Yeah,
but like that was one of the things that we would do on rotation.
Yeah. We would always do netball or hockey, like a field hockey or something. And then the boys would go and do boy things.
Field hockey can be pretty rough.
Field hockey's terrifying. Really scary. Those balls are rock hard.
Yeah. Ooh, I tried cricket before. That hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Those balls are hard as well.
Oh, cricket's got to be the worst sport on the planet.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
come on.
bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I'm always like, why are we watching this? This is horrible.
Yeah.
But people that do like cricket, they love
Oh, they're
cricket.
crazy about
They're
it.
crazy,
Yeah.
Die hard.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
always tell because they're boring. So, what was the genesis of the podcast then?
I think I'd wanted to do a podcast for a few years. I love podcasts, love listening to them. And
What did you like? What was really grabbed you?
the first podcast I remember loving, do you know The Guilty Feminist?
I don't.
That
I
one is-
don't.
she's
I know a guilty feminist, but I haven't listened to a podcast
I
yet.
just used to find it super funny. And when I was finishing studying, I was driving from my uni in London back to Nottingham quite a lot. And I would just listen to that on repeat. And I loved it. And it was funny. And there was 3 or 4 women that were doing it. And they would do it live. They would do it not live. What's the opposite of live?
Offline.
Pre-recorded.
Oh, yeah. And I think I just had it in my head, like, that would be a really cool thing to do. And then thought about it for a couple of years in Hong Kong, my first few years. And then really it was when COVID happened last January, I was like, right, now's the time. You know, my work got super, super quiet. I honestly had more hours in the day that I knew what to do with. And I was like, this is it. I got to sort it now. I went through 3 or 4 ideas. And yeah, I think based like people I met in Hong Kong, women in sport, I thought this is a cool thing to do, to interview these people. So
You know
that
what's
was
funny?
it.
Like during COVID time, Melbourne Comedy Festival, comedians in Melbourne came out with this whole new video saying like, please don't do new podcasts.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got to send it to you. You'll love it. It's really,
funny.
really funny.
And I was like thinking that when you said that during COVID, I'm like, this is such a Hong Kong thing. Like, you tell me I don't do it,
Honestly.
I'm going to do 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 2 podcasts now.
well,
you tell me
you
don't
know
do it.
that Amazon sold out of podcast microphones during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think I even said that when I put my first thing out. Like, I'm probably the only person in the world that doesn't have a podcast, so here is one. You know,
Yeah.
I did feel like, but I think that's part of what helped me to do it, because I think for so long I thought it was this very technical thing that you had to be quite specialist to be able to do.
And then you listen to some 8-year-old doing it. You're like, I think I can manage this.
I think there was somebody I'd gone to uni with or school with that put one out and did it.
I
And was
love
like,
that.
"Do you know, if that person can do it,
Yeah.
I
Can
do
I
it."
tell you, 100% of people that do stand up come from watching someone else on stage and go, I can do that. I'm better than that guy.
Yeah, that's all it takes. It's just
Competition.
Yeah, the only difference is there's a mic and I don't. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to take this moment to shout out to all our Patreon subscribers that we would love you to like tell your friends to subscribe. I mean, support us so we can get better equipment to improve on what Cissy's saying. Like, if anyone can do this, we can do it. So,
But having the good equipment makes a big difference.
oh,
yeah.
damn right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're enjoying the podcast, imagine how much better it would be on an H5N.
No, what I love is
recorder.
this. So what we're doing is we've set targets, and so if we get 10 more subscribers from now, we're upgrading one of the microphones to a real high-end microphone.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so what I like about that is it'll be like me speaking crystal clear, and then Vivek.
Yeah.
So you won't have to listen to Vivek's puns if you can hear
It's terrible, man.
hear the Australian twang and nothing else. No.
Yeah.
My first few episodes that I did, my first 3 were with friends of mine.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to do it.
Yeah, it helped, but I did it in my bedroom. I found like these. I made a den basically, right? Of like
Oh,
my
yeah,
duvet
cloth
and
or
covers
whatever.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then I was
Wait, you're
recording-
doing it under the blanket?
Yep.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
And then I was telling one of the girls, I was like, "Oh, do you know my next episode? I'm interviewing Camille Chang. She's an Olympic swimmer, right? She's quite Hong Kong famous.
And had
she
to
was
get her
like,
under
"You're
the
not
blanket."
bringing her in here, are you?" I was like, "I think so." She's like, you cannot bring an Olympian into your bedroom. Have you ever met her before? No. But I think it's a little bit weird if you bring her into your room. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Shit, okay."
Yeah, just make sure you fart before you get under the blanket with it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an awkward podcast.
I found this other place to do it, but honestly, the bedroom den, the audio sounded better than the other place.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's often the case. I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day, small spaces that you can have in your house can work super
Yeah,
well if
yeah,
they're right, and then
yeah.
bigger spaces that look beautiful can be terrible.
It's hard in Hong Kong because nowhere has a carpet, right? It's all.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
floor,
I did
so-
this. One of my favorite podcasts I ever did with the one in Shanghai was with the guy. You guys probably don't know, but there's a place called Xintiandi that's like one of the legendary tourist spots and like an awesome place to go and see. And he was the architect for the whole thing. And he's like, come record in my studio. It's quiet and everything like that. But it was huge, tall ceilings and concrete walls. And it just sounded like it was echoing the whole way through. Like, I can't listen to it
Yeah.
now. And yeah, it gets super frustrating. But there's a point at which you're doing it when you feel like you know everyone that's listening to it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
the's a point where you're like, oh, I don't know that person.
Yeah.
And they're telling me they love it. Like,
I know.
how great is that?
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. It is. I remember, I've had people that have known a guest. And they've
They've
put
found it
something
that
on
way.
their Instagram, right? Oh, listening to this. But then a few weeks later, when it's not their friend, they're still listening, and it's like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Yeah, we had one of our guests that I think was one of the hardest we had bring on, who became like a Patreon listener, which was just
Oh, amazing.
it's so motivating.
Yeah.
when you get a stress on that. And so we did the Hong Kong Spoken Word Festival, and Cissy had a great podcast, and most of the people were there for you. And not only that, but they were like, they wanted everyone to know that they were there for you. Like,
Oh,
like
wow.
if someone said a word that sounded like Cissy, they're like, woo! That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here for that. You know?
Yeah. They were discussing or something. I'm going to go see. Oh, she's a C. Oh, yes.
And I'm there with Muhammad. He's like, how many people are here for us? I'm like, none.
yeah, let it go.
No, I shouldn't say that because a couple of people were. Peter and Suithouse came. Well, Suithouse probably didn't come up for us, but we did have a couple of people there. And I don't want to disrespect that. But when did you feel like there was a transition moment where you're like, this is really resonating with people?
I think going from season 1 to season 2, right? Because season 1 was kind of people that were already in my network, right? So maybe I wasn't friends with them, but I was one person away from them. So I sort of knew of them. Yeah. Whereas season 2, I was approaching people I'd never met. I didn't really have any connection with, so I was really just DMing them.
Yeah.
And a few of them were replying, "Oh yeah, I've heard of your podcast, or I've seen it, or I've been listening to this." So I think that was for me like, oh wow, like people that I think are quite big deals in the women's sporting world know of this little thing. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think that moving to season 2, definitely. And then just being asked to do things like the other week, the Spoken Word Festival, or through other things like through Wise, this charity I work for. other
Oh,
people
I
saying.
forgot to mention that. So you're involved with Wise HK, which
That's
is
right, yeah.
what is it? Women in sport.
Yeah, empowered.
Empowered, right?
So for me, I always say that finding Wise was really the turning point of my Hong Kong experience, from going like, I'm just here to teach, I'll do a year, to
Contributing to society.
Right, and doing a bit more, right? And so I found Wise really, really clumsily. I decided one day that I need to do more with my time, because when I was in England, I was doing bits of voluntary stuff, I was coaching, and I had a year in Hong Kong, and I was thinking, I just teach, I want to do a bit more. So I went on LinkedIn and honestly just typed in women in sport, found Alicia, who's the founder of Wise, and just messaged her. Anyway, ended up getting involved in Wise, and they're awesome. And that really changed my Hong Kong experience. And I met
Which Alicia is that?
Alicia Loy.
Oh, I don't know her. Yeah.
I probably just butchered her surname. L-E-Y.
Oh, yeah, Loy. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. Loy.
Okay.
Yeah. It's usually Loy, right?
Alicia
So
Luau.
Louis.
Would that be it?
Let's not say her last name.
But yeah, Wise is awesome. Wise is a charity. We do events for women and girls in Hong Kong just to do more sport. We're trying to run some programs and things. It's been a quiet year. Obviously, not much has been going on, but a lot of planning.
But do you face a lot of challenges with more traditional families who are like, oh, I don't want my kids involved in this. This is not really important to us.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
like-
I think for a lot of local families, it's, I don't want my daughter to be, bigger. Or I don't want
Oh,
her
this
to,
is this is the
it's
best. I'm like,
not
you
very
think
ladylike.
muscular is that easy to become?
I
It's like
know,
I'm gonna go lift weights for a week, and all of a sudden, oh my god, I'm Arnold
You're like, do you know how
Schwarzenegger.
much
Yeah.
creatine and protein I eat? And
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
nothing? You think your
Yeah.
daughter's going to get jacked?
Yeah, I'm not lifting 10 pounds.
Hamstring or something.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, I did shoulder presses today. I'm in trouble tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you
No,
do
yeah.
you do get a lot. So because even in
sure.
comedy, you know what's weird is that in comedy, especially Chinese comedy, we have we don't have that many female comedians. A lot of it is because number one, society, it's not common, and number two, also the idea of like, oh, if I'm on stage and I'm too funny, it's actually been a real issue that, oh, I may never get married because like no one wants a funny wife. I'm like, well, you don't know enough men to judge like that.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of comedians would
Oh.
love to have like someone funny and be like, I'll take that bit. You stay at home. I'm gonna try to like.
I could not date a comedian.
Yeah, driving nuts. You're like, oh, that bit is funny, but she's taking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because anything happens, you're like, you're going to use that?
Yeah, you're gonna use that. Yeah. Lunch was terrible. You're gonna use that now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you do
Yeah,
same
for
thing.
sure, stereotypes, everything like that is much greater here, I think, and we are really trying to do more for the local scene, because a lot of our events, we have a lot of Western families that
Yeah.
come, or Western girls. But I think one of the things I've realized is, because Hong Kong culture is so competitive, right? That from 5 years old, they want to be the best. Their parents tell them they need to be the best. That I think a lot of the time when people don't think they're going to be an athlete, they kind of think, well, what's the point? Why am I going to waste my time playing this sport?
Yeah, I'm not going to the
I'm not going to
Olympics.
be the best. I'm not
Yeah.
going to the Olympics. So what's the point? So I think we are trying to show, we do, women, right, that it doesn't matter. There's still lots of things you can take from it, but their mentality, I think, is, well, if I can't take like success from it, then it's not for me. do you
It's
know?
like if I don't go all the way.
I would go the other way and be like, so what's the other thing you're doing? You're not going to be the best in the world at
I
that
know,
either.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Hate to break it to you,
Yeah.
but your job in the accounting firm,
Yeah.
it's not the Olympics.
Yeah. Calculator's going to outdo you every day.
Do you find that there's another side to that coin, though, in that once they do get hooked in it, they're very competitive? They keep that competitiveness?
Certainly once you get into something, yeah. But I think as well, and I think this is a girl thing, more a local thing as well. People don't want to look stupid, right? People don't want to make a fool
Nah,
of
guys don't like
themselves.
that either.
Well, yeah, I guess.
We don't
like
want to
those
look
guys,
stupid.
those idiot.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
They
You know,
just usually end up looking
That
stupid.
totally,
Yeah.
one of the first jokes I ever wrote that really reminds me of that is like just how bullshit cultural differences that we think are. Like the whole huge thing is like Chinese people don't like losing face. It's like,
Yeah.
no one likes losing
Yeah,
face.
that's true. No one does. Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
not a culturally unique quality.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
At all. I won't even say I'm goy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have so much face right
I'm in the
now.
taxi sweating about what I'm going to say when I get out.
Yeah, like just look, just here's
That's
Google.
so funny. I remember being like that. You sit there, you prepare all sentences. You're going to ask him, and then ask him about his kids. He got kids, is he married or anything? And then you just go, bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So same challenges, especially with women, like not wanting to look silly or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
doing sports. But then, have there been breakthroughs that you've seen people who've come in like kind of shy, kind of not really knowing what they do, but something like wise or whatever, you guys have changed this person completely?
Oh, I don't know if there have been breakthroughs for sure. We do, one of our main things that we do is mother and daughter sports day events, right?
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the time you'll get the mums turning up and they've dragged their daughter out, right? And the child is like hiding behind mum's legs at the start, like, please don't make me do this. And then by the end, they don't want to go. They're running around, that sort of thing. But I'd say what we do, I think is incredibly beneficial. And I think it's great. And we're trying to do more stuff with teens now and sort of young adults at university age. We've got a few things in the works. So I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so like in Australia, and I imagine it's pretty similar in England. It's like sport is just so embedded in the culture. Like
Yeah,
Saturday
yeah.
sport's compulsory in school.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
But sports is embedded in the culture if it's in your culture in England, right? If you're either sporty or you're not. I really do think there's a difference. Something like a World Cup, anybody gets in. My mum hates football, hates sport. There's a World Cup. She's a diehard England fan all of a sudden, right? So World Cups, people kind of get into it. But
World Cup shit, you walk out, she's got the red paint on her face.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Cissy?
she's got 3 lions tattooed on her arm. But I think if you're a sporty family, sport is a huge part of your life. But if you're not, it's really...
Interesting, yeah.
No.
No, but it's mandatory in most Australian schools.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's really hard to get out of it, actually.
Oh,
And the thing that I always think about is like, even though you didn't get that great at it, you learn, like, I have 2 kids, and the one thing that I want to teach them, like, I want them to find interest in something and then be like, if you try to get good at it, like learning to get good at something is super valuable.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
they're the kind of lessons that translate from sport, I think,
Yeah,
anyway.
for
Not just
sure.
sport, actually, even just like playing an instrument, I think is the same. But just like, you know, just try to really advance yourself and then plateau and try to hit another level and
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
mindset. They're the kind of things you can pick up from sport.
For sure, yeah. That's one of the things I love the most about sport is the transferable things that you can learn.
Yeah, the
right?
mental game, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's
exactly.
another thing. Before the podcast, you were mentioning about the mind game, the mental game, and everything with sports. I think this comedy, everything is basically like it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So, have you found that nowadays you're actually spending more time maybe explaining these concepts to participants, or you're exploring it more like the mental game of sports rather than actually going into the field and running around?
For myself,
Yourself, and also maybe just any events that are involved. Do you like, okay, let's say soccer practice would be, let's go kick the ball around.
Right.
Now, would there be times like, hey, for soccer practice for the first half an hour, let's sit down and talk about these topics. I
Yeah.
want you guys to get in your head correct. Do you see a shift in focus of less movement, more talk?
yes, I would say yes. Yeah. So I actually coach a women's team at the moment.
What age?
They are. I think we have someone in their 40s and then
Oh,
down
they're
to
adults,
20s.
adults.
Yeah. So my football team. So basically, my team, we are quite a Western kind of team, right? So we tend to have a lot of people come to us over the summer for like preseason stuff that want to play. And when we moved into Division 1 that we're in now, we kind of had to be a bit more serious, right?
Yeah.
We kind of had to want to take this seriously. We want to win. We want to train quite.
Not just
Professional.
not just drinking.
Not just get pissed. But we get a lot of people that come and they want to do that. And we didn't want to turn them away. So we set up this like social team that we take it in turns to coach, right? But it's predominantly me. I'm kind of the one that wants to do this. It kind of keeps them doing it. And we played a friendly game on Wednesday. These girls have only been training on and off over the last year, right? And, you know, they're okay. We're getting there. But we played a friendly against our club's under 18 teams. There were these 16, 17-year-olds. And all the girls, they turned out. They're so excited. And I sat them down before and I said, listen, we're not going to win this game. But here's what we're going to try and do in this game, okay? So however many times...
Great
the ball goes in
coaching,
the net-
I was just
Sissy.
saying, like, first time, but like, look, zero expectations.
Look, you guys suck, all right?
But we're going to enjoy sucking.
Just try to limit how stupid you look when you lose.
Yeah. At,
Damage limited.
at the end of the whole motivation speech, you're like, I'm going.
Yeah, they were all so excited.
But
I
just
was like,
thank
we're
him at
going
the
to
end.
this.
That's all I want you to do.
Just say, I'm going and know your address. That's all you have to do today. All right?
But really, you know, I said, you know, these guys, they're 16 years old. They
But they're like elite
Rapid.
16-year-olds, right?
They're good, and
And are they just a local team, or what are they?
the 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're a mix. They're some local, but mainly sort of international school kids. But our women, I said, none of us have ever played a match. Well, none of you have ever played a match of football before. But what I really want us to try and do, this is the sort of level, I want us to try and connect 3 passes together, and then that would be great. They only lost 4-0.
Gamification, basically.
Right, yeah.
Have some targets that they're trying to achieve instead of the whole game winning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But the mental game is huge. I mean, I think since I've taken more of an interest in it, I've noticed its power more in the last couple of years. I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what about trash talking? Like, when it comes to sports and any sort of competition, I love trash talking.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why you like cricket.
exactly. I'm like, your ball sucks. Anyway, so trash talking, is that a thing that happens naturally, or people are just quite polite in general?
Okay, so I went to watch a men's game yesterday at football club, and I forgot the level of trash talking in a guys' game compared to
Oh
I
my
think girls
God.
are so polite compared to the guys. But I'd say there's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would say a few players. It's a person thing, really. Like, some people are a bit more like they can give a bit of shit to people.
Yeah. Because like it's
Women
really,
are better at it, though. They don't need to say as much. They're,
Yeah,
good. They're
look
better
at
at
you.
finding insecurities.
Yeah.
Guys will be like, "You're stupid."
Yeah.
Women are like, "Nice eyebrows."
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it that way. It's like, okay.
I'll never play again.
Because like I when you talk about sports psychology, it actually translates a lot to even comedy.
Yeah.
The idea that you're in that position, that clutch moment, in the last shot of the game, can you make it? Do you doubt yourself?
Yeah.
And because I read books like Michael Jordan, all the classics and everything.
Oh, and he's the king of trash talk.
Yeah, he's the king of trash talk, and like he thrives on the fact that when you trash talk me, I will raise my game to another level.
Oh yeah,
that competitive.
Have
spirit.
you've seen the documentary, right?
Oh yeah, the
Have you seen that, The Last Dance?
The Chicago, yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so there was that, and also there was some books talking about sports psychology, like guys like Kobe Bryant and everything. He was talking about how when everyone else is playing checkers, I'm playing chess. Like he's telling everyone that I'm at a different level. I'm not even competing with you guys. You're not even anywhere
And they're
close
like,
to
"No,
where I
you're
am."
playing the wrong game."
Yeah, exactly. The rules are not the same. It's
They're
just-
playing basketball. I'm playing squash.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, but it doesn't work that way. Why do you have a racket?
They're different
It doesn't-
rules,
Yeah,
buddy.
you can't hit us with a racket. I'm not the ball. So, what I'm saying is that the sports psychology translation you did mention as well with real life. Have you seen other things transform? For example, someone coming in lack of confidence or couldn't really find a career development, and after a year just working in sports, and this sudden like they found their way. Because like for me, the mental game is really big with sports. Like I go to the gym, but it's not really like so much like I want to lift something heavy.
Sure.
But it's more that mental game of 1 hour discipline of like I'm not going to stop halfway because I'm tired. There's no giving up. Finish that rep. You did 8 last time. You hit 8 or
Also, just not forget about what on the day. It's going back every day. Like it's the ongoing
Routine.
commitment that's really. I think that's,
Yeah.
that's the mental game.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
when you're wrecked and
Like-
you go, "I just stopped for a month or whatever."
Yeah.
And I think one thing that team sports has taught me is just showing up for other people, not just yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, that's a big factor, right?
Being a team player, I think, is such an important thing to
Yeah.
learn. On Saturday night we had a game against a super hard team. We barely had any players. So much of me wanted to not go to this game because I was like, we're going to lose. We've got to go so far. I'm going to be late anyway because I have to work. But I think having a conversation with yourself to say, show up for them. It doesn't matter if you lose. Show up for them. Even if you don't even get on the pitch, right? You're there for them. Put your kits on. Stand with them. Like, I think that is one of the key things. Just not being a individual.
Okay, yeah, because sports psychology is good, but then it doesn't translate 100% to comedy because I don't want a comedian coming to a show like I'm just going to show up for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to bomb on stage, but I'm still doing my set. I'm like, no,
But
don't do that.
also, but we're also in a way not on the same team.
Yeah,
in
we're
a
not.
way.
Yeah, we're doing the whole game
They all want to
together.
beat each other.
Yeah, in a way you want to beat each other, but at
Yeah.
the same, you're the whole game is only successful when everyone does their best.
Yeah.
But then you also kind of want to do better than the next person. So
Yeah. You
it's
want
like
everyone else to do well,
Right,
and then
yeah.
you want to do better than
Yeah,
them.
exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're not the headliner. Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, I
thing.
love
Like,
burying
the
the
guy
headliner.
behind me needs to be buried in my set.
I have such a lot of admiration for you guys getting up and doing that. I think that's terrifying.
Oh no, getting up and having to kick a ball around, I admire that much more. I'm like,
Really?
why would I-
it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Because the thing for me is like doing comedy. I'm just like I go up there and just talk. Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
do
just have
the-
to have no shame. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you're
that's the
bringing
difference.
too much
Yeah,
equipment to
yeah.
the
Yeah, the
field.
technique of coordination is not really there.
Right.
You see a lot of comedians who can't even stand straight. But yeah.
So do you have any? That's true. That's really
That's
nasty.
very wrong. But you know the inside joke anyway.
So what do you feel has been like the best thing that's come out of the podcast for you?
What's been the best thing? It's really the people I've met has been amazing, and I'd say I have a really good set of connections now. And what's great about Hong Kong is that once you know one person, you know another 5, right? So just hooking up a really, really good network. I think as well, I've learned so much about women in sport. I'd say this time last year, I knew a bit about the sort of inequalities and the struggles, but really I've learned such a lot from every guest I've had. They're super, super knowledgeable. So I think that, and just knowing more people, knowing things, I guess.
And what do you think is the secret sauce for in the changing room? Why do you think it works? What is it? What are you doing differently?
I think it's a different kind of sports podcast, I think, because I am very honest about the fact that I'm actually not a great footballer and I don't know that much about football. Like, sometimes when you talk to people, guys mainly, right, British guys, oh, you play football, oh, what do you think about this in the Premier League? I'm like, I haven't got a fucking clue. Like, like, I don't really know. I just really like sport and I like who it makes me. And I'm very honest about that and say, I'm not that good at football, honestly. I just love it. And I've had a lot of guests on and we've been very honest about that and said, we make a fool of ourselves sometimes, but actually one thing it's taught me is this. So I think it not being a super niche sports podcast, it's more like it's okay, to be average at something and still get a lot from it.
But it seems like you're not average at it at all, Well, what do you think makes a good podcast or a good podcast episode? Like, what do you look for in your like?
I'm going to take notes now. Go
yeah. And can we do it? No.
I think I always know just before I record whether it's going to be good or not. Do you know that 10-minute chat before when you have with someone before? I get a sense of this is going to be.
So what is an indication that it might not go well?
Maybe you're not that you're not getting on, but that you don't like bounce off each other straight away.
Or just like one word answers for everything.
Right, and it's kind of like there's no real. I don't know. I want to say the word banter, but
you don't get excited like when you're talking with them. Just like, okay, I'm going to try to drag stuff out of them. That's the issue.
Yeah. So. I think what makes a good podcast episode is a good rapport between people. That's a pretty textbook answer, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes cliche stuff is true. I always think about that. Like, the older I get, the more the cliche statements, I'm like, God, they're right.
Yeah, right, yeah. Totally,
and then you start telling it to the younger generation, you're like, I've become one of them.
I know.
My sister is like a sucker for all that stuff. She put on her Facebook wall, like, life's not learning about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. I was like, damn it.
That's very true. Oh, God. But I cannot agree with that. I can't even she's going to see the notification.
Yeah. And she's like, he liked it. Putting up another one.
Yeah. Like, no, don't encourage
You're feeding it now.
Yeah. Feeding the
But
base.
have you had a guest that has said something that kind of made you go like, wow, that's exactly what I've been kind of like a missing link? Because that's another thing I find as well when I like say again talking to different people and they just have that one phrase that just clicks in your head and you're like, oh wait, that puts everything into perspective for me.
Yeah, something connects the dots for you. I get that a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So the way I do my podcast is the first thing on the episode is something good that they've said from the episode, right? And then it's like a little, almost like a teaser.
Yeah.
And there are some guests where I listen to the whole thing, I'm like, what? Oh, this is so bad to say. What bit will I put at the start, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then there are other guests where I'm like, wow, everything you say is so great that I want to put it at the start.
I used to do the same thing, and I used to have the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bad, isn't it?
And you're like, wow, I can't find 10 seconds that are interesting out of this hour-long podcast. Why is anyone going to listen
Sometimes
to
I
this?
say something good. I'm like, can I put me at the
But
start?
you know what the other side of it is, though, is that there have been times when I've made a podcast and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm comfortable putting this out.
Really?
And friends of mine that have more experience with it or were at the time would be like, the timetable's very important. You just get something out there. And then you put it out and people are like, oh, that was my favorite.
Yeah,
totally. you don't always hear the whatever insight is being shared.
For sure. Actually, that's one thing I've learned is that I think we're too hard on ourselves all the time. will sit like slating an episode that I'm like listening back to. I'm like, oh, it's so boring. It's so awful. And as you say, then people are like, that was brilliant. I loved this bit. And I'm like,
Loved it more than the other ones. I was like, did you hate the other ones?
I know. I'm like, what about the other one?
Yeah.
That other girl, she has 20,000 followers on Instagram. Don't you like that one? They're like,
Yeah.
no, I like the normal girl with 50. I'm like,
Yeah, well, it's because you're connecting dots on stuff you already know. It's sort of everyone knows different things, and there's a bit of insight into listening to anyone speak for a while. Well, I loved the live podcast you did the other week, and thank you so much for coming on today. It's been